We're going to skip the introduction, but I am going to introduce myself. I'm Shanika King, second grade, Mill Creek Elementary. I taught with Wendy, and I had her daughter when she was in second grade. Yes, 20 plus years. I say that because I have been teaching a long time, and I literally have lost count because before I came to public school, I taught private school. So 20 plus years. I'm now a member of the official Pear Deck certified coaching cohort. I'm very excited about that because I love Pear Deck. I was going to kind of briefly talk about the standards and what I have gathered about what you can, I guess, tie in with the technology standards. I'm pretty sure you can probably tie in all 5 of them, but this is just me digging in to see which standards. So the citizen of a digital culture, you can dig in because they have the internet also. Pear Deck's already pre-made that you can just use with your students whenever you need to use them. The global collaborator and the computer analyst. Am I saying that right? So those are the 3 that I found just flipping through the standards that tie in with using Pear Deck. And then this model, I think Ms. Gibbs already shared that with all the schools, so we'll skip through these 2. All right, so this is our agenda. We are going to join a Pear Deck in just a minute. We're skipping the introductions. We're going to talk about what a Pear Deck is, we're going to talk about the features of the Pear Deck, and we're also going to explore a Pear Deck, which means I'm going to start one, and you guys are going to be the students, so you can kind of get a feel of how it is. And then I'm going to let you, we're going to recap what we learned for the first part of our session, and then I'm going to let you guys practice creating. And that will be fast. We'll just practice making a Google slide and adding a Pear Deck to it. And then we're going to skip the book and review, and then there's at the end comments and questions, and if you don't mind, I have a feedback form that I want you guys to fill out when you're done. And that's the agenda. All right. So before we join, I want to talk about 2 ways that you can get your students to join. You can get them to join by using their Google account. So if you use their Google account, that means you'll have access to their names, because we'll talk about the 3 different views from Pear Deck in just a minute. Or you can have them join without knowing who they are. They'll just show up as animals. But you'll have to make that adjustment in the settings. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get one started. And a code's gonna pop up here in just a minute. And while we're on this, there's 2 ways that you can start your Pear Deck. You can start at a student pace, and you can also start at an instructor pace. And that's gonna all make sense here in just a minute. Because the student pace, they have control, but when it's an instructor pace, I have control, or you'll have control. So I'm gonna start it out with an instructor pace. All right, so there's the code, PHIFCC. And it also gives a little crazy little saying, purple highlighters instantly form confused carrots. And that's how the students know that they got it right, because those words will pop up once they get the code in, right? All right, saying my first student has connected. And then right here at the bottom, it tells you when the students are connecting. And then even Pear will start talking to you. He's so cute. And I will say this while we're here, if you don't want to use the student code, you can also give the students a link. And this is if you use a learning management system like Schoology or Google Classroom, you can just put that link right into the Google Classroom or Schoology, and it'll take them right to the lesson. So you have different ways that you can get them to join the Pear Deck. All right, looks like all 3 of us are here. So we're gonna go ahead and start class. And you're gonna notice I have control of your screen now, so don't freak out. My kids are like, oh! So I'll start moving your screen. So I'm going to move it, and we're going to start. I said we were gonna skip that. So this is the question I want to start with. So what do you know about Pear Deck? If you can just type that into that text box that's next to you, or actually I think I did multiple choice. Multiple choice, make it quick. Make it quick. And then I'm gonna show you how cool this is. I can show responses, and this is what we use for like graphs. So it lets me know, like if we're using this in class, I just went down here to, at the bottom where it says show responses. I can do show response. If I want students not to change their answers, I do that, and it'll lock your screen, so you won't be able to change your answers. And we pull this up and we just talk about it. Notice there are no names here, so the students, oops, we don't want to end class. The students don't know who answered what. So everybody put see. I know a little about Pear Deck and tried it a few times. Awesome. All right, we'll keep it moving. I'm gonna unlock your screen.
If you turn to the next slide, will it automatically unlock the screen?
It will.
Okay.
So you can actually just hit the next slide and it'll automatically unlock. So you don't really have to do that step right there. All right, so what is Pear Deck? Pear Deck is an interactive presentation tool, which I think we're familiar with that since most of you have said that you have used it a little bit before. It was created by teachers and it started back in 2014. Did y'all know that? Like that long ago. I started using it in 2020, so it had already been 6 years in the making when I started using it. You can use it with Google Slides and PowerPoint. So if you are a PowerPoint user, which I had a few in the first session I did at the PD, you can actually use PowerPoints with Pear Deck, but you'll just have to log into your account to get the add-on to. It actively engages students as well as adults, which principals will get onto this too, and the reading coaches. Individual, whole group, it helps with social emotional learning because there are lessons like the Internet Awesome. There are also pre-made Pear Deck lessons that tie into social emotional learning. It gives students a voice. So if you have that shy child in your class that never participates, everybody gets a voice and gets to participate in the lesson. You can use this asynchronous, I know these are like trigger words, sorry. Asynchronous, synchronous, and also within your classroom. It pairs so nicely with any tech tool that you use, okay? And I used it, the first time I used it synchronous, and it was a little nightmare because I was using it for home and my Wi-Fi was not the greatest. But when I started using it, when we were made to come in the building and teach from the building, it worked nicely. So, here's that. All right, and then this is just their slogan. Pear Deck is a mission to help teachers deliver powerful learning moments to every student, every day. And these are all the different tools that you can use with Pear Deck. And excuse, I tried to cover up the old Google Classroom sign and it logo and it didn't work, but it's fine. This is the old one, this is their new logo. And so, I mean, you can use these with Pear Deck with any of these tools. And I already talked about the Schoology, Google Classroom, and of course, you guys may know that GoGuardian and Pear Deck are they're like one now.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
All right, so here are the features, and we're going to briefly dig into these. So there are 6 question types that you can add to a slide for student responses. There are templates that you can get, so you really truly don't even have to make your own slides. They already have pre-made ones, and they're all customizable. That means you can steal their images, like you'll see I have a few in mind. You can change it, you can change the text on it. Anything you want to do with it, you can do that with it. The dashboard, you have 3 different views of dashboard. Right now you guys are looking at the student dashboard. This is called the projector or the classroom dashboard. And then the teacher dashboard is the private one that you do not want to pull up in front of students. That's the one where you actually see students' names. And so I usually have that pulled up on my laptop when I'm using my laptop to go and give my students real-time feedback while they're working through their deck. That makes sense?
Yes.
All right, and then we already talked about the teacher and student pace. Right now we're in teacher's pace. I will be changing it to student pace to give you guys some time to practice with it. You can give the students real-time feedback. That's one of the things I love about Pear Deck. You don't have to wait. Like if they're at home, we're gonna have a few asynchronous days coming up. When they're at home, it'll be almost as if they're right there in class because you can see them work through the slides and you can give feedback as they're working. And and then this is so cool. They have an immersive reader tied into the Pear Deck, which basically, if you type anything on the screen, there's a little icon. You probably may see it in the corner, a little book. If you click on that, it will read the text on the slide to the student. So that will be helpful with the struggling readers, your EL students. Changes, you can use like 80, I think it's 80 different languages you can change to as well. So it's pretty cool. And then at the end of your Pear Deck, it will give students the opportunity to give their takeaways from the lesson, and also you can do a reflect and review where the students will get a copy of the whole lesson and all of the comments and all of their feedback and everything they've done. You'll get the whole class, but they'll get their own individual one, which you can use for review if you teach math and you have notes you want them to read.
Can parents access that too then, like from the student view? Like is it saved anywhere?
Well, it does say to their Google Drive, and that's the beauty about Pear Deck being a tool, a Google add-on tool, anything you make, it will automatically not only save it to your Google Drive, but it also saves to your Pear Deck, your Pear Deck account. I'll show you that in just a minute. And then you also have Add Auto, the Flash vocabulary. We won't get too much into that, but that's just an extra addition to Pear Deck, where if you want to do like vocabulary words from a story you may have read or anything, you can use that. It reminds me of Spelling City. Y'all remember Spelling City? That's what it kind of reminds me of. So, all right, so these are the 6 different question types. You have text, which you can just, of course, students will just add a response in a text box, kind of like what you did with the, what do you know about Pear? Well, no, that was the multiple choice. I'm thinking about I had a text box for the introduction, so I gotta think about that. Okay, so the text, if you add a text icon or question type to your slide, students will just be able to text into a text box. And then there's a choice, that's the one that I use with the, what do you know about Pear Deck? Students will just choose multiple choice. You get to add those or type those in. Then there's a number choice you may use for like addition or any kind of math problems, or maybe just if you want to do an estimation or whatever. That's the number one. Then the website, this is the cool one. This is where you can either embed a website or you can just add a link to your slide. Now, if you embed it, it will only show up on the student devices. But if you just add it as a link, you can do it on the projector view. So you have to just decide which one you want to do. The drawing tool, which I think this is Seesaw in one. You basically get to draw on a document. The students will get the option to draw. They can, draw, color, highlight, and I think there's a couple of other things that they can do. So that's the drawing tool. This is one of the premium features that you won't get with the free one. All 4 of these, if you do a free account, you'll get all 4 of these, but these are the 2 that you will get with the premium feature. The draggable, you can use that if, say for example, if you have a picture or an image of a map and you want them to find a certain state, you can give them they have a little icon that they can drag to the state, and there's like different little images. You can change the color. It's pretty cool as well. And I just mentioned at the bottom that Pear Deck is a one-stop hub. I mean, everything can go there. You can link. If you still use Seesaw, you can still put your Seesaw links in there. I mean, everything can go in your Pear Deck, and the students will not have to ever open up another tab. And this is just a picture of my students. Last week we did compound words, and so this is just what the drawing tool looks like. So there's like 1, 2, 3. There's even a typing one, and it's a little bit different than the text one because they can actually change the color, make it big, and just be able to manipulate it with this one. The eraser, and so I'm just taking a picture of her working on that with compound words. All right, and let's just kind of I just kind of went ahead of myself just a minute ago. These are, I'm gonna break down each template. The templates, I just told you that they're found in the template library, and those are customizable. I already told you about the 3 different views: the student view, projector view, or class view, the teacher view, which is your product view. You don't want to pull up in front of students. Student and teacher instructor page, we already talked about that. I jumped way ahead of myself. The lock screen, you already saw that. There used to be a timer that you can hover over the lock screen and then give them a certain amount of time, but I haven't been able to use that. I don't know if they took it away or what. But I tried that today while we were using it to give them a certain amount of time. So I just set the timer on my phone. But I usually set a timer or tell them how much time they got to respond. And when we're ready to move on, we move on. And Pear Deck is awesome because unlike Seesaw, I like using Pear Deck for my whole group discussions. I don't just let them just go and do a Pear Deck. Unless we're going through we're learning a skill, I'll teach the skill, and then if I want them to do something independent, I'll either take them, let them go to Seesaw and do the activity, or they can I'll put it on student pace and they can just finish up the activities. But this is something you do with the whole group. Let's see. Other features, real-time feedback, we talked about that. So in just a minute when I'll give you guys the control, I'll be giving feedback so you can see kind of what that looks like. The immersive reader, I told you how cool that is. Change the font, you can change the font, which I don't see what students will need to change the font, but you can change the font. 80 different languages. It reads whatever you type on that slide, it reads it to them. Now if you put an image, like sometimes I use, I will screenshot a passage and put it on there. That won't work, can't read for that. So, but I'll show you a trick to get over that in just a minute. Let's see. The takeaways, we talked about that. The student takeaways is something that they get immediately after you end a lesson, and it goes directly into, it'll email them, and then it'll also go into their Google Drive. And of course, it also saves it to Pear Deck. The reflect and review is what you may do with students if you want them to maybe have the whole presentation or whatever lesson you taught. You want them to have a copy, maybe for a quiz or a test that they may have. It has all your comments on it, and they can't respond, but it'll have all your comments on it. Like say if they were working on multiplication and you were giving them the steps to multiply a problem on when you gave them feedback, they'll have that documentation to use for later. The content orchard, this is so big. We're just gonna have to go to this one, okay? Because it's a lot. This is your actual Pear Deck account. And everybody should have a crown because Madison City, thanks to Rachel, got us a free month. So your content orchard, this is it. It's a lot. You got classroom community celebration. These are kind of like your SEL kinds of lessons, already made. You just click it, share it, already made. So you don't have to worry about making it. So if you want to just get started to get a feel of Pear Deck, use one of these slides already made in the orchard. You got your, I think these are like, what it says, Newsomatic. This may be for the older kids. And I guess I could use it for second grade, just depending, I'll make sure it's appropriate. Uh-oh, sorry. This keyboard is super sensitive. Go back, there we go. Trying to get back up to the internet. Awesome. Okay, so this ties into that standard that I was telling you about. So these, they have it in Spanish too. Let me try to get up here to the English one. There it is. So there's 4 lessons in the Be Internet Awesome. So I did this and my kids love it. Now the Pear Deck version is a little different. When I did it with Donors Choose, they had videos that went with it, and the kids just basically watched videos. And then there was also like kind of like a video game type thing that they did when they went to the different worlds. So that was pretty cool. But this one's just as cool. We've been doing the Internet Awesomes this week. It basically teach them internet etiquettes. I think they call it netiquettes. So I had to explain to my students what etiquettes meant, and the proper way to use our devices, and that we shouldn't share our passwords. That's all what the Internet Awesome is all about. And that ties right into one of our technology standards. And of course you have it in Spanish and you have it in English. And then down here at the bottom, you have ELA lessons. You might find one from yours truly, because I had to submit one when I did the coaching. You have some PBS down here. So it's all kinds of lessons already made. Already made. So if you want to just go in and look in this orchard and just pick a lesson just to test it out on your students, this is the place to come. All right, back to our Pear Deck. So the audio, remember I said that the immersive reader will not work if you put a image of a text on there. This is how you get around that. You just hit record, because there's a record icon, auto button that you can add to a slide, kind of like Screencastify. Is it Screencastify? No, Screencastify. Yeah, you can do Screencastify with just voice on it. So you can record yourself reading the passage for your struggling readers, and then add it to the slide. So you'll have the image of the passage up there, and then they can still listen to the passage. So that's one way of getting around it, since the immersive reader won't read it. I would use this for giving directions sometimes, even though you might type it on the slides, and I'm the one that will type it on the slides and add auto, so they can get it both ways. Again, this is good for your EL students and also your struggling readers and students with IEPs. All right, I'm gonna stop for just a minute. Any questions so far? What are y'all thinking about it so far?
I'm just still taking all the notes from everything you're throwing at me.
I just wish every teacher would get on to this. This is just so cool. All right, so this is just basically showing you how to add the audio, but it's one of I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute, so we'll skip that. All right. Also, if you teach upper grades and you share students, you can actually share your Pear Deck with another teacher, so y'all can have this work from the same Pear Deck with your students that you're sharing. So this is that feature, and it shows you how to do that. It's really simple. Even though I've never had to use it, I've tested it out. All right, y'all ready to explore?
Sure.
All right, I have a timer going that I'm gonna keep going here, but look what I do. I'm gonna go right here, And I'm gonna say, actually you can pull it up from down here, I think. I don't see it. But I'm gonna turn on student pace, and you're gonna notice arrows are gonna come at the bottom, and that means you have control. So I want you guys to work through, there's a video, you can skip this part. But this is what we call embedded. Notice it's not showing on my screen, but you guys can see the video.
Yeah.
So this is where you embed it. You can embed the video or add a link. There's like a few slides y'all can just click through and just play around with, and I just added the different question types to them. There's even an audio, but please don't play it. My voice sounds horrible. So I was gonna let you guys see this real quick. So notice I see Wendy's working on hers. She's working so hard. Testing. I love it.
I changed colors, but they
and
don't
see,
show
there's
you.
Wendy's. This is how you view the students' stuff, and see how their names are under. Yeah, this is the view you don't want them to see. You pull up in
Right.
private.
Right.
And notice I was given response. I didn't even give you a response, sorry. But I gave her, Wendy, a response. And I just said, good job.
Oh,
Yes.
This is
Rachel
brilliant.
has
Yes,
not.
yes.
Rachel has not responded.
Yes.
And do you see their little the heads here? If you hover over it, it'll tell you what student's on it.
Who's in
Oh,
it?
okay.
Let's see.
Yeah.
It's supposed to. Well, it's just telling you to. I thought it would if you hover over it. All right, and also when I'm looking at the student responses, I can view it that way, or you can do it that way where you see them all together. Yeah. So you'll see all 18 or however many students you have. And this is what's great about being asynchronous, because you can literally see your students working through these slides. And you can watch them on Go Guardian.
Yeah.
Always fun.
You can watch
Yeah.
them on Go Guardian and see what
Got 'em.
slide they're actually on, and then just, also watch them here to give feedback. So I'll just give feedback while they're working on their stuff at home, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I used this when we were virtual, and the kids loved seeing each other's answers pop up.
Okay.
And, it was
Oh, yeah.
because they wanted to interact with each other desperately. And this was a
Yes.
good way to do it and control it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then here, even though I was able to show you the bar graph when we were looking at the projector view, if you're on the teacher dashboard, if you hover over it, it'll show you what students picked the response. Versus if you were on the class view, it won't let you see the person's name. Yeah. All right, I think we got a chance to kind of get through the slides.
Yes.
This is the draggable. This is the one I really like. I want y'all to go to that one real quick if you don't mind, so you can kind of see how that works.
The draggable one here?
Mm-hmm. Of the map.
Cool.
All right, we have one person responded.
That's me.
Isn't that cool? And so you can look at it this way, and then of course you can do it this way just to see who actually got that answer correct. And then this is what I usually put into the peer deck when I want students to stop.
That's brilliant.
Yeah. To let them know. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and end student pace. You don't see that right there? This is how you go back to being in control. You just go boom. They have no more control.
Oh.
And it's gonna go back to the
Yeah.
original page that we left off on, I think.
Uh-oh. Oh, there. Now good.
All right. I wanted to kind of throw this out, even though you guys already know that our district has gotten us a premium for the month of September. We're piloting it. I cannot say the word, but y'all know what I mean. We're testing it out.
Yeah.
We're testing it out, and I'm hoping that we can get it. I'm hoping. Rachel, you guys do. Yes, I know she's trying. I'm not gonna put pressure on you. But she also just kind of, mentioned about the Pear Deck Orchard, which is the cool spot where you can get pre-made Pear Decks already made. And then, of course, the Be Internet Awesome templates and the lessons in that. Already touching on one of our technology standards. So, yep. So, to get started, everybody's already got their account.
Yeah, we got to count.
Okay, so I can skip
I
this.
do.
Yeah, we just did.
All right. This is where I'm going to just let you guys play around with it.
Okay.
So we're on good timing. I guess about maybe 8 minutes. All right. Feedback. If you would, if you could either click on that link or scan the QR code and fill out the short Google form that I have for the presentation, I would really appreciate it. And I'll also have these slots, share these slots with you guys, because
Oh,
I put a
great.
Q&A at the end, because I look at the Google form and just see what questions I have. And I add a Q&A to the last couple of slides, just to answer questions.
Whatever you want to do is all right with me. 'Cause you make me feel so brand new. I want to spend my life with you. Me say, sing, baby, since we've been together, ooh, loving you forever is what I